So in the previous video, we went over the knit stitch. I thought it would be a very good idea, and again, ignore that, that's my phone, to keep knitting and show you what the garter stitch looks like as it is built up over the course of a few rows. This type of knitting is very easy, very mindless. I can't really do this for very long. I should know because I am currently working on a Doctor Who scarf for a friend, and after a certain point, you really kind of need something to break the monotony. So, just a quick review. Um, these are your front posts, these are your back posts, and when you put your needle, you put it through, form an X through the front loop, wrap the yarn around. I'm going to take this needle, drag it through, and carry that wrapped yarn along with it. And that's your knit stitch. You need to get very comfortable with this because, um, well, most patterns involve almost 50% knitting. So, and if you think this is bad, the purl stitch is going to be much, much worse. I'm kidding. It's actually not too bad. Now, you could make entire scarves out of this. You can make pillows. Technically, you can make a sweater with no shaping in it. A few things to be mindful of when you are knitting. When you turn your garment around, here, I'm going to spread this out a little bit for you. The working yarn will want to orient down like this. This is the correct way of doing it. When I was first learning how to knit, back in the Stone Age, the yarn sometimes kind of hung like this, or I to the point like, or it hung like more extreme like this. And I'm not sure if you can see it, but the this is actually your previous row, and this is it's not good to knit this, or it's not good to knit like this. It'll actually create extra holes in your yarn. There are times when you need to have your yarn wrapped over, and that's called a yarn over. And very lovingly, my friends like to call these happy mistakes accidental yarn overs. But ultimately, what it does is it creates a gigantic hole in your garment. At the very worst, it will add an extra stitch. So when you're first learning how to knit, it's very important to make sure that you are keeping the same number of stitches. Um, and like most things in life, the very first thing you create will probably look pretty bad. I'm not going to lie. No one has ever seen the first scarf I did because it was probably thrown away. It's good to be prideful, but it's good to learn from your mistakes. So ideally, these stitches here should be even, and even is sort of the name of the game for most knitters. You can fix some of those unevenness by blocking, and I'll go over that later. But ultimately, when you first are learning, some of these stitches may be super loose, some of these stitches will be super tight. Don't get hung up on that, at least when you're first learning. The most important thing is to know the basics. So let me do one more row, and you can see how garter looks. Garter, because each row has sort of alternating rows of knits and purls because you're constantly turning the piece around. Oops, hello. Um, it will have a bunch of horizontal lines. Those horizontal lines that you're seeing, I just call them little nooses. Those again are the purls because remember, whenever you're knitting, the very opposite side of that knit stitch is a purl stitch. Often when you're doing lace design, um, the wrong side rows are just purls, or the body of a sweater. If you pick up a knitted sweater and you see those little horizontal lines, little dash marks, those are purl stitches. So those are probably the other 50% of your stitches. I tried very hard to never do them, but I kind of got over it. So and this becomes super mindless, by the way, so I can probably just keep talking. But that is what it looks like. And you can see these little jagged lines. here and here. What you can't see and what is recessed a little bit is if you pull the stitch a little tight, you can actually see the knit stitch from the opposite side. And then it is mirrored on this side as well. So it will alternate between a knit, a purl, a knit, a purl, so on and so forth.